They might hear, possibly, that you're further away. Okay. Okay, so we begin. As you see, the subject is ha'akavish b'Torah. Ha'akavish is the modern Hebrew word for a spider. So we're going to discuss three subjects regarding ha'akavish. Al Yalkut Pirushim. There's a pasuk in Tanakh which, according to most meforshim, means a spider. We're going to bring that pasuk, a whole bunch of interesting pirushim about that, and then we're going to talk about a whole bunch of random halachos connected to spider webs. And then there's a famous story of Dovid hamelech. Those are the three subjects we're going to be talking about. Regarding Bachar asking if I used AI for this, I used a little bit of AI for touching up. There's only one picture in this slideshow that was created by AI. I think was created, but that's what's mashma. And whoever guesses the right one will get a can of soda. But we only have one guess. Okay, 30 guys, each one will guess one, but no, if they guess the right one. Okay, so we begin. So this is a Sefer Chassidim. Sefer Chassidim is a Sefer for Yehuda Chassid. So I'm going to show you a very cool video over here, and I'm going to read at the same time. I'm going to put it on double speed, but at the same time I'm going to read the Sefer Chassidim, which will take me a few moments. Sefer Chassidim says, "Ki es kol ma'aseh Hashem yovi b'mishpat al kol nela mimtei v'yirah." Hashem has, and everything that Hashem does, He has His hidden secrets, and everything has minus and chesronis. Everything has pluses and minuses. And here the Sefer Chassidim goes to a number of things that he says. Hasvuvim, flies, Yeshlam Mahal Yusa, they have an advantage that should provide for them. Number one, Shem is a nice mitzuya, that their food is always everywhere, wherever they go they have food. So number two, the Yeshlam Knafayim Ufbem, they have wings to fly. So those are the two advantages. However, Ugreyasa, they have a chesarim, she'akavish meishelas, when the spider spins its web and catches the flies. And then we have the akavish, that the akavish, she'akavish me'alusa, yesh la'akavish, she'meishelas lehem. The one advantage Hashem pays for the spider, and it can capture all the insects. V'oid, she'teiru b'reit, hamel kamayim v'yoyim. That here it says, once or twice a day, it uses its spit to create his web. When you write Elakadei Tvila Achas, it will fall on this Kamayim, the Matila Kafuk, and the Rakas Kafuk, they say like well. So it describes how it goes and creates, I think it's anyway on the faster speed, and now in the faster. So it does it spits out a stream, and it does it, and then once or twice a day. However, there's a chesarim that Hashem provided for this spider. Shazvuvim working on him, and basically sometimes it will not be able to catch the flies. So Hashem keeps creating the spiders and chesarinus, and this is a video how this is in slow motion, where you see how the fly gets caught, and then it goes over to it, and it catches it, and this part is boring, maybe it's not at least. But that's pretty much this. And then it is over. That's all. That's it. Okay. So that was just our interesting Sefer Chassidim. Now we move on to the pasuk that I mentioned. The pasuk is in Mishlei. The pasuk says, "Smamis biyadayim tesapes v'hi behechlei melech." Smamis, as we'll see, most meforshim say means the spider. Biyadayim tesapes. Yadayim means hands. What does tesapes mean? We'll see. V'hi behechlei melech. She, the spider is behechlei melech, or the smamis is behechlei melech. So what does it mean? So we begin with the Metzudas Dovid, who was the classical Pirush on Tanakh, that he says v'maisei biyadayim means, he says tesapes meloshin catching. V'maisei yadayim tilka deimach soira. With its, whatever it does with its hands, it goes and it collects whatever it's not. I mean, it gets whatever it needs. It weaves these like sheets, what we call spider webs. And the flies get caught up in it. And the spider eats the flies. Here comes the lesson. The Metzudas Dovid says, even though the spider is found in the Heichal of the Melech, in the chamber of the king, and there's so much matamim and it's busy eating flies, the spider chooses to eat from its own what it can accomplish. So here we see a lesson in Avodas Hashem, as he continues. The tilmadas liyesa'odam nizan miyagia kapoy. A person should teach to train himself to enjoy his own hard work not to enjoy from others. So this is one lesson. It's a pasuk in Mishlei, which is known to be Mishal Moshleim hamelech. So that's lesson number one to learn from the spider. Even though you can get things easy, you should work hard to get it. Another pirush from the Ralbag. The Ralbag says, questions? What's wrong? You have questions on what we said? Opa. If you're risking this, you only have one chart. You didn't see all the pictures. We'll get to the end and then you'll decide which one you want to choose. So Smami Svihia Akavish of the Ralbag also says it's a spider. He says, Gamkin ber yaktano, Gamkin meaning because the Psukim and Mishlei are discussing other creatures over there. So it says it's also a small creature. And so it makes it so this web, and the sabes bazvuvim badveirim zulosem me'abalechayim. It's going to catch different insects. Asher yitochen sheitov suba. Ki bezeh tasik bezoyne komeshen niskar besifri balechayim. Yiba gam kin beichlei melech umisham chafra eichelo. The Rambam says that he starts off the same way as the Metzudas, that we're discussing the spider making its web, and it makes it even when it's found beichlei melech, even in the royal palace, it'll still make its own web. But he has a different lesson, two different lessons he learns. It says that a chacham should not be afraid to try to figure out deep, complicated things. But the spider is not afraid to go into the king's palace because it knows that over there it can find what it needs. So a person should not be afraid to learn deep in Yonim, Chassidus, and Eibishter because you're going to find the truth over there, so don't be afraid to go there. That's one lesson he compares it. The other hand he says, a different lesson. He revived to say that the pasuk is trying to bring out over here the spider is actually making a mistake. The spider thinks I'm going into the king's palace, I'll for sure find good stuff to eat over there. But it doesn't realize in the king's palace, they're constantly cleaning. They're going to see a spider, they're going to immediately destroy it. So he's saying that the opposite shot is that the spider is not being smart by going into the king's chamber, because even though you think you're confident with yourself, but you don't realize where you're going, and you're making a big mistake, because now they're going to push away your web and they're going to kill you. And the lesson is after the person has good ideas, he comes up with different things and he starts thinking and then ends up getting confused. Where am I going? He has so much different ways. So you get too complicated, too complex, you lose yourself. So better to be simple. That's like the opposite message. So this is two different messages that the Ralbag learns to compare from the spider, either to say that when you're sure about something, don't be afraid where to go, continue learning it, or he says sometimes you do have to be careful because you might by mistake, get too you're too smart for yourself. You get lost and you don't know where you go. The Ibn Ezra says that the smamis is not a spider. All the other meforshim said it's a spider. He says, as you see, it's a monkey. And he says, the cheshbon is, why it's called biadayim tesapis, because we know that the monkey, one of the many cute things about a monkey is the fact that it can catch things with its hands. So that's biadayim tesapis. And what's the word v'hi beichlei melech? Because many kings, many palaces, they have as a pet or some kind of, a lot of times for entertainment, they'll have monkeys over there. So that's how the Ibn Ezra touches the pasuk, no connection to spider. There's a sefer called Das Sholim. Das Sholim is a pirush, I think from the Tosher Rebbe or the Shatzer Rebbe, I forget. One of these tzaddikim, this Pepelush tzaddikim, and he has a pirush on Perek Shira. Perek Shira is a sefer which goes through all the creatures of the world and how they sing to Hashem and the psukim that they say to Hashem. So he brings over here like this. He says there's a vart that old women say, and the vart is that the churban of the Beis Hamikdash, the fire of the Beis Hamikdash, came along because of a spider. A spider brought the fire. And the Rashba says that you should, when a Baba says something, don't make fun of it because everything has some source. And he continues, and I've heard from a smart woman that there is a type of spider that has a cross. And you see over here in the picture, the spider has a cross. This is a natural design that Hashem makes, that the spider has a cross on it. So you see that there's a big tumor on the spider. I think it's called a cross spider. Not every spider has it. But there is such a concept where you see that there is such an element that they were connected to the Churban, to the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. And he says, and don't laugh at this word, Tamazon, because I found the Medrash. The Medrash clearly says, Smamis biyadayim tesapis zu edoy. The smamis it catches with his hands. This is referring to edoy. She'ein b'chol hashrotzim snua kesmamis. There isn't a more hated animal than spider. By the snakes here, we mentioned that there's different lists of the most hated animals. So on the top 5 are always going to be snakes, spiders, and mice, and I think rats. I forget whatever, but those for sure are the top 5 always. So they're for sure on the top. So here he's using a loshon that is the most hated one, and it says ves esav sanesi. And the word is this mamis, this hated animal that the mother says v'hi beich lemelech shechriva mikdash shemelech malach yamach makadosh baruch hu. So the Medrash says the Smamis is Esav who destroyed the Beis HaMikdash. And that's similar to the simple pshat that the Smamis was not involved in the fire. So an interesting source for that. It doesn't mean that this is a Medrash that says that a spider was part of the burning. But it does, you do see Epis a source for that the Shmuah that people would say. And he says, however, the spider did tshuva. And it's mischaret al ma'asav, it feels bad what it did. And that's why, what did the spider do the whole day? The spider the whole day is constantly building houses. Because the Beis HaMikdash is called a house. As we know, Avram called the Beis HaMikdash a har, and Yitzchak called it a sadeh, Yaakov called it a house. And so since the spider feels bad, that's why it's constantly building houses. So the next time you see a spider making a web, you should think to yourself, it's now building a Beis HaMikdash. It's doing tshuva for what it destroyed. And obviously that's a lesson to us. We should also be busy making the dira b'tachtonim, building a house for Hashem. He has another interesting thing. Why does a spider hate the fly so much? Simple reason is because that's its food, and he wants to eat it. But he says over here, because in Perek Shira it says, you know when the spider sings to Hashem? The spider sings to Hashem when the Yidden do not learn Torah. The fly, not the spider, the fly. This Zvuv, it sings to Hashem when Yidden don't learn Torah. And because as a result of Yidden not learning Torah, Chas v'sholem, Esau becomes stronger. So mainly because the spider feels so bad about what it did, it destroyed the Beis HaMikdash, it's doing tshuva. That's why the spider took upon itself to destroy the flies. So here he basically says that flies are the epitome of evil, and the spiders are about tshuva, and that's why it's going around killing flies all the time, because the flies are not allowing Torah to be learned. And we know this often goes together when there are flies in Zal. Summertime, everyone's busy catching flies. So on the one hand, you see the flies doing what's meant to do, disturb from learning Torah. On the other hand, the bar going and killing the flies is not a good thing, because look, the flies has to be destroyed. But when we spoke last week about the Tar Balachaim part, that's not for now. Another Pirush brought down from the Mei HaShiloach. This is one of the Pirush Tzadikim a few hundred years ago, the Razina. So he has a different type of Smamis b'yadayim tesapis, meaning the lesson. And he doesn't say if it's a spider or not, but he says Smamis is referring to depression. Zaf v'atzvus, miloshen shmama, desolate, emptiness. And he says, b'yadayim tesapis, it means to say, even great people get caught up in this problem of depression. V'chachom roshi al Yisrael, yilu mizeh lahashli matzum, shalim zesher, it's very hard to get rid of all depression. Every baruch likes to say, I'm depressed. So everyone has it from time to time. But here the Mei HaShiloach says, even tzaddikim, they can't completely get rid of their depression. Everyone has it from that. That's the pasuk is saying. So you have to be extra. Even though you're a melech, even though you're a king, you should know that there's something to be concerned about. This problem of the swamis and the happens. There's a mimer of the Rebbe, Avad Devin Tavshel Chav Beis, where the Rebbe speaks about this pasuk. It's really Chassidus. A lot of times, as Chassidus Chabad, this pasuk is brought on often to tell us the following concept. It says, the Melech, the Eibishter, he gives Hashpah also to Klippa. But it's not the pshat that Hashem gives them Klippa b'ritzoyni v'cheftzah. And because the Melech is so merumam, he doesn't care about chasing it away. Because it's only chitzon. He's not going to lower himself. It's beneath his dignity to go on and be involved in chasing away the Klippa and the chitzonos. And he says, but the way they get their hashpah is like a melech making a big suda, the sort of avodah, and the leftovers of the suda, he ends up giving them to their nishpa also. They end up, like the leftovers end up falling down to people that are on the bottom, to the animals or whatever it may be. So it's moving that the king himself, when he's making the suda, he has in mind only for his servants, for his officers, those that are close to him, not for the animals on the ground, but the prayer they get as well. So the Dumasei Banim show that Mitzad Eibishter, Mitzad Pnimiyas Hamakif, he has zero interest in them, but they get from Chitzonius Hamakif. You ask me a question? At the end of the class, you're going to say. End of the class. You didn't see the other ones. All right, that was a whole bunch of psukim about the Pirushim on the pasuk of Smamis within the Sabbath, which, like we said, most meforshim say it's the spider web. Now we're going to talk about a number of halachos regarding spider webs in connection to Shabbos. So first of all, it says in Shulchan Aruch Alter Rebbe that one of the preparations for Shabbos is to go around and to clean spider webs from your home when it is still daytime. Meaning there's a halacha to clean spider webs. So most houses, everyone has jobs what they're supposed to be doing. I assume, right? Many people no, you don't have jobs. You have many sisters, that's why, right? In house, usually everyone has a job that they have to do, whether it's cleaning, setting up the table, or I don't know what. Everyone, no one has jobs at their homes. Everyone has jobs. Normal people have jobs at their homes. You were joking. You have jobs at home. Shmulik, no? So everyone has jobs. So, but no one, I don't think any of you have a job to get rid of the spider webs, right? So next time your mother says, what's your job? I want to clean the spider webs. I think you go back to your phone because you're probably not going to have any spider webs in your house anyway. But this is such a halacha to go and clean spider webs. And now it's brought down in the Arizal that there's a remez over here because the pasuk we said before, smam mispiyadayim tesapes Rosh Hashanah Shabbos. So before Shabbos you have to get rid of the spider webs because get rid of the clippers. Then there's brought down from the Ramak. The Ramak says that there's a whole remez over here regarding getting rid of the spider webs from your house. He says because the malchus is called bayis, and basically the klippa wants to destroy the sholim, the piece of the house, and that the klippa is the spider. According to this, before we saw the Pshirush that the spider is actually is the Baal Tshuva. But according to the Rishis Chachma, which is the Talmud of the Ramak, so he's saying that the spider is still trying to destroy the Shlom Bayis, and indeed, whenever there are spiders, there isn't Shlom Bayis so good at that moment, right? Because the mother's probably shrieking and the father come down, it's a big deal. So you see the spiders make problems with Shlom Bayis, and therefore, before Shabbos, you have to get rid of it, because Shabbos has to be Shlom Bayis, always has to be Shlom Bayis, especially on Shabbos. Here is an interesting thing, that it has to be Kredim Shah Chamishis, meaning before 11 o'clock in the afternoon, or morning, whatever it is, 11 a.m., that's when you have to clean the spider webs, because that's when the Shabbos really begins, and you don't want to have the klipa of before it. Another halacha in regarding the spider webs is regarding when someone has a boo-boo. So if you have a bruise on Shabbos and you're bleeding, so the halacha says you're not allowed to put a beged on your, if you have a garment, a tissue you're allowed to actually, but a garment, you're not allowed to put a white garment on to stop your bleeding because you're not painting your garment. And if it's red, you would think red. I'm not painting; it's the opposite. When it's red, you're making your garment even more red, so it's for sure also. So putting a garment on when you're bleeding is forbidden. However, what should a person do? So he said, what you should do is you should take spider webs and put them on top of your blood. And then on top of that, put like a shmat to put a band-aid on top of that. However, the Alter Rebbe says there are those that say you cannot use spider webs. You know why? Because spider webs actually can heal. Spider webs have a power to heal. And this is talking today also, the discussion about it, that spider webs have some kind of quality that Hashem put in it, that it could actually heal. So therefore, you cannot heal on Shabbos. So some say you can use it as part of the stuff. But some say it's forbidden because it will actually heal. And the Alter Rebbe says, should not use spider webs, and anyway there's no spider webs because you clean them before Shabbos. But if the spider ended up making it very quickly. Yeah? Yeah, so that's the next halacha. So he says over here, the Shmir Shabbos Kelchasa, he says, you're not allowed to remove spider webs when the spider is there because you are killing the spider web. However, if it's connected to a random kelim and there's nothing there, you're allowed to remove it min hatzah, like with a broom or something. So with a broom, you're allowed to remove it if there's a spider. But if you prepare it before Shabbos, you clean the spider webs, you put them in your first aid kit, and afterwards on Shabbos, when you get the boo-boo, you take it out and you use it to seal your bleeding. All right. And now the story of Dovid hamelech and the spider. What's the story? So, Amar Nebuchadnezzar hamelech ben Sira. There was a person by the name of Ben Sira. Ben Sira was a very it's very strange how he was born. But he's considered to be the son of Yirmiyah Navi, but whatever the ganze ma'aser behind it. But Ben Sira was known to be a very smart person. He wrote a book called Ben Sira, and in Gemara there's actually a lot of psukim that the Gemara quotes from Ben Sira. It's like almost on the level of Tanakh, and not almost, meaning in those times apparently it was very similar. And the Gemara says Kosov Ben Sira. So Ben Sira, his writings were considered to be very special and meaningful. And what's the word in English for the Sfarim Chitzayim? Who knows the word for English? No. Apocryphy. The apocryphy, there was the Svarim that were written in the times of Tanakh, that were not part of the Tanakh, are called the apocryphy, and Metzira, if I'm not mistaken, is one of them. So he has in a sefer. So I think this story is brought over there, but it could be it's in a different medrash, I forget where. So he was a son of Yirmiyah, and therefore he was in that time of Nebuchadnezzar. So Nebuchadnezzar was asking Metzira, why does the Eibusher create all these things? Why does he create wasps? Why does he create spiders? They just for destruction. There's nothing beneficial from them. May love be, there's honey, but a wasp and a spider, there's no benefit. Why did Hashem create? So he responded as follows. Ben Sira told him, once upon a time, Dovid hamelech was sitting in his garden, and he saw a wasp eating a spider. So David tells the Eibishter, the same question you asked us now, he asked as well. According to some, David hamelech is Nebuchadnezzar's grandfather. Right? We spoke about this. And some say that Nebuchadnezzar was a son of Shlomo hamelech from Malchus. So according to that, David is his ancestor. Akoponim, he doesn't bring that over here. He just says that David hamelech had the same question. What benefit do you have from these things? This wasp just goes and eats up the honey that the bees make and destroys everything. And this the spider is making cobwebs and spider webs, and there's no benefit. You can't make any clothing out of it. There's nothing beneficial from these things. So the Eibusher responded, David hamelech, you're laughing at people. There's going to come a time when you're going to need them. You're going to see why they're needed. So people seem crazy or odd or whatever, no matter how stupid or mad they are, these people can bring benefit for the Yidden, so don't make fun of them. What ends up happening? So there's a story about the wasp, which we're not going to discuss. The story is about the spider web. When David hamelech was hiding from Shaul hamelech, Shaul was chasing after him. So one of the times, David ran into a cave to hide him and his men. And then Shaul was looking, so he was looking around, so he sees an opening to a cave. He wanted to go in. But when she gets closer, what happens? The Eibusher sent a spider, and it made a huge cobweb to cover the entire entrance. And when Shaul got there, he saw there's this huge spider web over here. So Shaul was chasing David, so it was just right now. So Shaul said, okay, it's impossible anyone would have gone in over here. If he would have gone in, then the whole web would have been destroyed. So therefore, he didn't go in. When David hamelech came out, he saw the spider, he kissed the spider, and he said, Baruch Beirachu, Baruch Ata, you are blessed, and the one that created you is blessed. Whatever you did is so special. What? That's a different story that he brings down over there. We'll finish off with another one over here. Another quick one also. Also, we'll do it. They're making that slow motion, but we're going to make it on fast. And then it'll be a hot come. Oh. Yeah, it's Beseder. You saw enough. I made a mistake. I realized a mistake. There's actually 3 of them that were but I made a mistake. That's how it makes it. This is the Eibusher. We should make, instead of that mincha marabah masech Hashem, I should use this instead. Every day show another video. One guess. Now 3, I know, but you have to only guess 1. Okay. Now it's not normal. Now it's faster than normal. This is mamish marabah masech Hashem. It was the whole thing, not the whole thing. Ad kan.